Look at,
We got it.
oh my God, that was stressful.
Well, no worries. The hard part is over.
Okay.
So ultimately, welcome. This is normally when I join on to do like a coffee with Laura where we talk about different health related topics. And I always find it useful to have other people like yourself to come on and share your knowledge so people can learn from you and we can kind of spread the same aligned, healthy message. So we'll
Okay.
jump right in. Why don't you tell whoever's listening and whoever listens later a little bit about you?
Okay. Hey, everyone. It's Karin, and I have uh, my business, my brand is Health Yeah Life. And what do we want to know about me? I'm a certified integrative nutrition health coach, and I had colon cancer a couple of years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And yeah, I wanted to learn all about things health, Laura, all things health. So I just dove right in. And now I help my, followers, my people, and we discuss things you shouldn't eat. I just did a live yesterday on, the foods I ate before having cancer and the foods I eat now.
Well, that was actually going to be one of my first questions is since you've kind of done this health life makeover and you obviously learned a lot, how like what does your life look like in terms of change from before your cancer to now?
Well, my husband gets irritated because I read all the ingredient labels.
Yeah, I'm sure.
When we go grocery shopping, he's like, is this one okay? Is this one okay? But what do I do different? I definitely pay attention to any feelings that I have, that now I just don't push them off and go, okay, that's my body. Nope, your body's telling you something. So be very aware of that. So I definitely, even though I was probably always cognizant of it, but I'm more mindful and I just am more aware. So people need to pay attention to their feels.
So,
And
could I pause you for a second? I obviously understand what you're talking about, but for the listeners, what type of feels are you talking about? Like, is it a belly ache? Is it like a stinky fart? Like, what type of
yes,
feels?
yes, all your feels. So anything that you're, putting into your mouth that causes a, destruction, your body's going to say, hey, it's giving you warning signs. And a lot of people don't listen, Laura. A lot of people don't listen to their body. And
Mm-mm.
my husband's not as, we're going to say, in tune. I'm a lot more in tune. I have a more sensitive body. The chiropractor even told me I was the canary because, it's just kind of how my body is.
Hmm.
Definitely need to pay attention to anything. So if you're having excessive gas, we're talking about gut health here. If you're having any pain, bloating, any kind of distension, and you think, I was told our colons don't have feelings, but I knew if mine gets inflamed, and I still know, Laura, if I eat something, it's like, oh no. But think about it. It's your body's way of telling you, hey, notice me, pay attention
Yeah.
up here. And so many people just write it off as, oh, I'm gassy today. Oh, I'm bloated. What's going on?
Hmm.
Yeah, they need to just pay attention to those things for sure.
Absolutely. Like, I remember when have you ever heard of the fast mimicking diet?
Mm-mm.
So before I became a health coach, one of my clients, my personal training clients, brought this to me and she said she wanted to do it. And I was like, well, let me try it out first. And I'd never really done many cleanses. I didn't really believe in them. It was just like detox to gain is kind of how I thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very fascinating experience where like I would describe it as, you know how women hold their belly when they're pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had a bowl in my belly at that area. And every day I went through the cleanse, I felt like something was taken out of the bowl. But the catch was, I didn't know the bowl was full to begin with. And after doing the initial
Yeah.
fast, it was like I could feel food and understand my body on such a different level. And ever since then, it was like like my mind just went super open, and it made it so much easier for me to recognize it. And to your point, like I have so many clients who will feel bloated, but instead of being like, why am I feeling bloated? They go straight to, ugh, I'm so fat. And I'm like, no, that is not what we're talking about. This is a message coded from your body. So I completely agree. But I apologize, I interrupted you. You were
No.
telling us about the changes to your life from before your cancer and after, and you were talking about, really being intuitive to all the feels.
All the feels, and I suffered in silence for many years. And people don't want to share, we're even talking gas. People don't want to share that stuff, especially women. Most women, Laura, we're not going to share poop, we're not gonna share our bathroom habits. And it's kind of sad that we don't, because then you're like me, you suffer in silence. Yeah. And it's just kind of sad. But my biggest takeaway from having, before I had cancer to now, was paying attention again to those foods that bothered me. I no longer eat gluten. And I'm very, very careful with dairy. But in saying that, again, if you just pay attention to ingredient labels, is that seed oils? Oh, let's go. And people are like, what are seed oils? Canola oil.
Yeah.
Your vegetable oil that's not vegetables, people, it's not vegetables. And the biggest culprit, soybean oil. So all of our processed foods, a lot of them have soybean oil in them. It's cheap. It's one of the biggest manufactured crops in the US. And I know that the government subsidizes farmers, and I'm not putting blame on anybody,
No.
but it's one of those things, and they put them in there. It helps preserve the food and stuff. And our bodies go, no, it's not. Our bodies are not meant. Think of our ancestors. And I know this has been said many times. Think of your ancestors. They didn't eat these foods. They didn't eat a lot of these processed foods. And when we eat those, our body doesn't know how to react. And the only thing I can say, the analogy is, think of your car. And if you're continually putting water, sugar, whatever in the fuel tank, something that doesn't go there.
Right.
It's fun for a little bit, but after a while you keep doing that. And think of our body as the same. Our bodies eventually will go, oh no, I'm done. So, and that's where you get things like cancer, disease, autoimmune diseases, all the things that people have, allergies. I mean, things that people just take as normal. It's not normal, Laura. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, when we spoke before, I'm a vegetarian now. And I kind of joke, like it wasn't necessarily by choice. It was more like my stomach decided for me, but that's always happening. It's just a matter of people's pain tolerance. To the point, I was recently with a group of people, and they were drinking wine, and I wasn't, because it does not work with my stomach. It's like a knife is carving through my gut. And I told them, I have IBS and this is why I don't. And they're like, yeah, us too, but we just deal with it. And for you and I, we kind of had a different experience, because obviously you had cancer. So you had a big motivation to change your lifestyle. I was in pain, and that helped. I mean, I was already on the nutritional path, but I don't think I would have cut out meat if I wasn't in pain. And I think it's largely due to misinformation, but also kind of the community element. So I'm curious, like your experience, because it's no lie that we relate via food. I mean, hell, like the 4th of July was just this past weekend. I'm sure everyone enjoyed their indulgences with their family. And there's like almost like a belonging aspect when you eat unhealthy with people, to the point when I first started eating really healthy, my husband and I used to have what we called Fat Fridays, where we would just be like, it's Friday, and we would have pizza and all the things that we deprived ourselves from, right?
Yeah.
And he said he misses connecting with me on Fat Fridays. Now, we figured out other ways to connect, but my long-winded question is, ultimately, I've noticed an experience where I almost feel a little disconnection from people, but I feel better, so I'm okay with it. Did you have that experience? Do your clients have that experience? How do you manage around that?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. So yeah, I mean, like you said, food is what we tend to use as our, how can I say it? Just our communication space, I guess, because you
Mm-hmm.
festivities, all your holidays, you think of all of them, they all deal with food. Even
Mm-hmm.
even Valentine's Day, we go out
Mm-hmm.
to eat, we get candy, everything that it involves it, barbecues, 4th of July, like you said. So yeah, I mean, what do? You can still do it, but you can do it on a healthy side. The funny thing is when my family comes over, because I'm the one that does a lot of the get-togethers, and when they come over, they just get to eat healthy, Laura. They
Yeah. Do they
healthy.
complain?
No, actually, what I usually get is, gee, this tastes good. And I know I scare them, because they're probably going, oh my gosh, what are we going to go eat over at Karen's house, at, mom's house, daughter's house. But I have to tell you that 9 out of 10 times they're like, yeah, that was really good. Because
Mm,
again, we're eating whole food. It's not food that's making you feel like crap.
right.
Yeah, and so you can still have that connection, and you can go out to eat and have good food too. I do it, not very often, but maybe you pick salmon, or something like that instead, because I'm like you, meat doesn't always like me.
Yeah.
So pay attention to those feels. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, it's choices, Laura. It's choices. Do you want to feel like crap? Because as you're talking, I'm like, okay, so you guys did this on Friday. How was your weekend? How'd you feel all weekend?
Well, to your point, I remember the first time, like after I got my first nutrition certification, going to the 4th of July, and my family has a table of sweets just out at all times, like not after a meal, just an open table. And I'm like any human, sugar is fantastic, but I also know that sugar doesn't like me as much as I like sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the mistake of comparing. So instead of recognizing like how I was feeling, I was looking at what my other family members were eating, and I was like, oh, well, I'm eating better than they are. Like, I'm not indulging as much. I'm doing well. Now, we have a family album where we upload all pictures from all family holidays. It's just like a running album. And normally I'm included in a good handful of them. And I remember that holiday looking at the album, and I was only in 2 pictures, and both of them I was sleeping in. And I remember leaving that kind of family, like that's such a special time to be with the people I love. And I remember leaving that time feeling like I just wasted an entire weekend because I was so tired from all the food I ate. And it really made me sad. And it's made me very conscious when I'm around my family in the future, because they're good cooks, not necessarily the healthiest, but it
Right.
still tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not worth missing the memories, to the point when I train a lot of couples or brides. Every time when it comes like to their honeymoon, they're always so excited because culture tells you need to like deprive yourself and get super super skinny for your wedding, and I get it. I mean, you can do it without deprivation, but that's not the point. And I remember telling a couple of my brides, like, what's the meal you're looking forward to? And they told me, like, oh, pizza and burgers and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, are you having that on your honeymoon? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, do you want to remember your honeymoon? And they're like, yeah. And I shared my story with them. And most of them heeded my warning, but one of them did not. And she went to New Zealand. And I literally remember her messaging me from New Zealand 2 days before she came home. She goes, I'm so mad at myself. And I just have to say this because you're the only one who would understand, but you were so right. Like, I ate everything I wanted to eat, but I didn't want to be like intimate. I didn't want to go out. It ruined her experience. And I don't think people are as aware that that's what it's doing. It's almost like it's happening. We're like, meh, our body can take it.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to it. And really, so this is another thing that I found interesting within my food dynamic is the mindset around shifting. So when I was trying to figure out what was causing me pain, first I went dairy free. And Karin, I cried in probably 3 different Targets because there's just moments I was out and about, like being social, and I had to go get food. And everything that was familiar to me had dairy in it. And I even went to bars and I literally couldn't find anything that I would want that I knew that had dairy or that didn't have dairy. And it was a very enlightening experience just to see how much dairy is in everything. But also, I find with my clients, at least, that we tend to go for the products that our parents did or what we were fed from friends or like within our kind of, social circle. I now eat such a diversity of food that I wasn't exposed to, but I had to kind of expose myself to it. From what you're telling me, it sounds like you had a similar experience. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did that shift? What made that shift easier for you?
Because I feel good. You just said it. You want to feel good? Okay, so my daughter says this one thing, and maybe I've said it to you before, Laura. My adult daughter. Well, they're all adults, but the oldest one, she will say, you don't know how crappy you feel until you feel good. And then she eats like you and I. And people will say to her, "Oh my gosh, I wish I was as good as you. Oh my gosh, how do you do it? How do you do this?" And she's like, "Honestly, I don't like feeling like garbage." And they're like, "Oh yeah." But if they go to the other side, we're going to go to the other side and say, they start feeling better, like you said, these gals getting ready for their wedding, ate really well. And, they weren't depriving themselves. They weren't starving themselves. They were eating well. And their body appreciated it. And when they went back to that, they went, "Oh my gosh, this is how I've been living." So again, until you get to that point, sometimes you don't know. You don't realize, how much better you can feel. It's funny because people say, "Oh, I have a headache," or "I have these things." And our chiropractor will say, he'll ask them, he'll say, "How are you feeling?" They say, "Oh, it's just a normal headache." And he's like, having a headache is not normal.
Right.
So if you're having bloating, if you're having any symptoms, gas, let's go into the poop side again, constipation, diarrhea. I know many, many, many clients, many women that, they have bathroom issues, and it's not normal, Laura. It's not normal. So again, I think people just need to pay attention to their feels and stuff. But yeah.
So I agree. And I think the hard part is how automated and hooked we get. And you kind of said like people don't know how good they can feel until they feel good.
Yep.
I agree. But let me see what you're going to say. I'm curious.
Okay.
You have a client, let's say, doesn't know how good it'll feel, but wants to change, and week after week comes to you and they're not. Because they don't know how good it can feel, they're not motivated. So how would you guide someone like that?
Oh gosh, sometimes it's kind of tough. It depends on that mentality. But let me just say something. When they do start eating better and start feeling better, their mind gets better. And sadly, a lot of it, and people don't even take into account their mental health, depression, and, even bipolar. If you're bipolar, sugar has a lot to, you can go back to the sugar and stuff, that. But how do you do it? You're just there. You just have to be there, and, hopefully they'll want you for the accountability side. But I just have to just keep telling them, you just got to work at it. And honestly, I think if people have a community like you and I have our communities, I think it's a little bit more helpful, because you don't have that in your family. Because I've actually had clients go, "Well, my husband won't eat this way." Oh shoot, my mom's that way, Laura. She'll say to me, and my mom has diabetes, and you won't see this, so we'll just share. But she has diabetes, and the other night she's talking to me. I bought her some awesome gluten-free pasta, because my mom, part of that is that craving. Your body goes, hey, you light it up, with the pasta. But I asked her, I said, "How is it?" She goes, "I haven't tried it, but I made your dad spaghetti, and it's just easier for me to eat what I make him, and then went up, and then I've been tired all day." And I'm like, "Mom, it's your food." But the thing is, Laura, this is what I do, because it's just my husband and I now at home. So when I food prep, guess what he eats? Is he gluten? No, he's not gluten free. But is he? Yes, he is. My dear.
Yeah.
Because that's how we eat. We eat pasta that's gluten free. The thing eat. So part of it is just stop making it so abnormal to eat healthy foods. I think that's the biggest thing that frustrates me the most. Why is that the weird person that goes, even my she's 14 and she'll eat a salad for lunch, and why are you eating a salad? And she's like, because I like it,
Yeah.
but you're getting condemned over this food, and why? It's food, Laura. It's
No.
actual food. It's not your fast food diet. It's not your, drive-through diet, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I think the biggest thing is just with the client and stuff, you just have to be there holding their hand, and eventually they will get there. Some people take longer, but they also have to want it. And with
Yeah.
me, cancer, what better motivator than to go, oh, hey, what caused this? Because I asked my doctor, how did I get cancer? They don't know the answer, Laura. And
Yeah.
now back, I'm thinking all these foods that disrupted my digestive system for years,
Mm-hmm.
4 years, because I can tell you what my diet was. It was a standard American diet. It was the drive-through diet. It was the sugar diet. It was the high fructose corn syrup diet. I mean, all that we eat, the seed oils, they're so disruptive, so disruptive. And pretty soon your body goes, like I did the analogy of a motor vehicle, pretty soon your body goes, no, and it has to stop. It makes you stop and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And I agree. I find it very funny how I'm irregular. I don't belong or I don't fit in because I'm the one eating healthy. And it's funny that people not maybe intentionally shame you by it. And it's just the cultural message. I mean, you see it everywhere. And it's I really feel a lot of times I was a sheep before, just going along to get along. And yeah, that food tasted good. I'm not going to ignore that. And I was very unhealthy before. So it's very funny to the people in my life who see me now, who knew me back then when I lived on chips and queso and pizza.
Oh.
And now I have completely 180'd. And, my dad's a diabetic as well. And he never is on social media, so he will never watch this. But fortunately, my mom is very intentional about her health. And she'll ask me a bunch of questions. And I've sent her chickpea noodles or things like that. And she's made them for him. And it's almost like we have to lie to him, to the point I remember making him spaghetti squash and telling him one of my friends who's a little bit more, what's the word? She's a little bit of a hippie. Peace, love, happiness, all about it. But I was I got this noodle from so-and-so and it's organic. So it just might be a little crunchier, but I think you're going to like it. He had it. We had a great lunch. He even had a second helping. And I was okay, we can't tell him it was a vegetable. And he ate it a second time. But then as soon as he found out it was a vegetable, he stopped liking it.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's wild to me. And I see this with some of my other clients. I have one client who, and this is actually an interesting thing. So I don't know if you've experienced this, but as you know, we are one being. Our emotions affect our intuition and our eating and our digestion and our immune system. It is all interconnected. As much as we want to pick and do all that stuff, it doesn't. And we have learned a lot from not only culture, but our parents and our parents' parents and our parents' and all the generations that go down. And one of the main messages was, you ignore your feelings, you push your feelings down. And I have some clients who are so protective about their feelings, as in they don't want to feel them, they don't want to address them, they just want to get healthy, that they can't actually feel food. They can't feel how it makes them feel, because if they feel the food, then they feel their emotions. Have you had anyone like this?
Well, I have family members like that for sure. So yeah, they disassociate the two, right? They just disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never disconnected. Even if you want to disconnect it, it's still there. So definitely, and I'm going to step back just a second. When you were talking about your dad, oh my gosh. So if we're going to share little stories, I think everybody will love this one. So my mom had carpal tunnel surgery in May. And a ulnar nerve moved and some things. Anyway, so I knew it was her birthday, and my dad has never eaten a vegetable, and he's very proud of that. He's eaten corn, which is not a vegetable. And his story to me that cracks me up is he's like, I tried lettuce once, lettuce. And he's like, I chewed on it and chewed on it, got all the water out, spit it out. Why would anybody eat that? And I'm like, Dad, okay. There's so much more to vegetables. But he's proud of it. You just said he's very proud of not eating vegetables. So anyway, it's my mom's birthday, and I thought I'm going to make him a dinner because I know my dad's kind of feeling lost, and I'd made a couple meals prior that I knew would both eat. So I'm thinking, what does my mom like? Again, she likes pasta. But I was like, no, we're gonna do healthy, but we're gonna not tell them it's healthy. So I actually made that, yeah. So as I keep coming across this brand, and maybe we should hashtag it somewhere, but the Siete foods.
I've never heard of it.
Siete? Oh, gluten-free. They're just coming out with more and more. Actually, I want to just say to them, damn you, Siete Foods, because it's a really yummy cookie. It's a gluten-free cookie, and it's got coconut sugar and stuff. But okay. Yeah. So anyway, I'm getting off track. But so I took Siete Foods makes an enchilada sauce. Guess what's some veggies? It's all natural. No soybean oil, no crap in it. And so I made them, and you're thinking, well, enchiladas, but you can make them healthy. I use, or we bought some beef that's organic. What is it? Pasture raised, grass. And so I use that, and I use some, actually, since they don't eat gluten-free, I did some sprouted corn tortillas, which corn's not the best for us, but I did those, and then lots of cheese, because I figured, and same thing, I did some, made sure it was good for each kind of cheese, and I thought if I put enough on there, maybe it'll be good too. So I just spread this all in the sauce, and they just absolutely loved it. But I did a little trick. So in your hamburger meat, and I'm not a Pampered Chef person, but Pampered Chef sells, what is it called? Because I know it, enrichables, and they're powders. And what it is, it's just ground up like vegetables and stuff. So like in this one, it's a veggie mix, and it has like mushrooms and I think tomatoes, carrots, different things. Well, I sprinkled that in the meat when I cooked it. So that was in there. And I thought, we'll see if they can taste that,
Yeah.
But I made my mom a giant salad and everything. And then I even made homemade dressing, because I knew I'd take her this delicious salad, Laura, and she would put this crappy store-bought, garbage on it. And I was like, oh no. So I made sure I made her some dressing, took her a little, jar of dressing, and she just loved it. She even told me how great it was. And my dad too. So, and for my dad's birthday, I made some homemade gluten-free tarts. He loves sweets. He's starting to get Alzheimer's, and they're talking about that being diabetes 3. It's from sugar, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy, is how much like we're chipping away. So are you know what lectins are? Mm-hmm. So obviously Dr. Gundry, like king of lectins, he's fantastic. But like how he describes it in his book about like lectins are like bombs in our kind of digestive system, and like we're big animals, so like we can kind of take it, but each bomb we don't realize has that buildup effect to it, whether that be Alzheimer's or cancer or a number of other conditions. And I'm grateful that my stomach kind of turned on me, because it made me passionate about this, and I enjoy feeling good, which is fantastic. But it's so funny, like my husband isn't a vegetarian. He'll eat vegetarian meals, and he'll always be surprised that he likes it. But every time he can't get enough of it. So I don't know. I feel like the ideal shift, because I want to work with people, right? I understand that we can be set in our ways, and it's scary to change and yada, yada, yada. What I wish I would have known is like how to build my plate, what signs to look out for in my gut digestive system to feel better. And ultimately that like a blend of like vegetarian proteins, vegetarian style meals, and meat meals are actually fantastic. Is I feel like people are like labeled like we eat meat or we don't. So if you don't eat meat, you can never eat meat. If you do eat meat, you can never eat vegetarian. It's like, no. Or all these different titles and stigmas that go with it. But you know, my online business manager asked me like what intuitive eating is. And I was like, eating so you feel good. Like that was how I described it. She's like, can you give me a little bit more? And I was like, okay, how do I describe it? And I had to actually think about it because you said it from the very beginning. But I think what would surprise most people is when you do make the shift, is it uncomfortable? Maybe it's more unfamiliar, I think, than uncomfortable.
I think so.
And I think if I went backwards, the mistake I made was I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I tried a bunch of new recipes and it freaked me the heck out. What I would do differently is just try one new thing a week or every other week and just kind of like start introducing those new things. And honestly, now cooking is kind of like my art. Like I like to get creative and have fun. And sometimes I get it right and sometimes I get it wrong. But I used to hold so much pressure on myself over what I had to eat because God forbid I would gain weight around it. And now that I can listen to my body, just like you're talking about, it is such a weight off my shoulders and my gut that I can just trust it. And what's funny is I literally had a conversation with a client. I'm like, you just need to listen to your body. And I always go like, how do you know when you need to poop? Do you like, count your calories plus your water divided by your sleep and your stress and tell your boss you need a 30-minute poop break at 2:15? No, we don't do that. But that is what we do with our food.
Yes.
Like, why can we trust one, but we can't trust the other? It's so interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So as well, first off, thank you so much for coming on. I like to just have people with different information, different stories, kind of reiterating similar, different messages, but tell people a little bit about, you know, who you work with, where they can find you. Obviously, your podcast, Health Yeah Life, is fantastic. I got to be on it, so thank you again for that. But tell people where they can find you and who you work with.
Across the board, social media, website, everything is Health Yeah Life. You know, Health Yeah. That's my podcast, so it's the Health Yeah Life podcast. My website is healthyeahlife.com. They can find me, you know, on Instagram and Facebook the same. I did just recently start a new group on Facebook, which is kind of cool. So if anybody wants to join it, just go on over. It's Health Yeah Lifer group. Want to be a lifer with us?
Yeah.
And I go live every week. And this week, like I said, it's Wellness Wednesdays is what I do. So every Wednesday I share, you know, either if someone says, asked me a question, Laura, and they're like, okay, and if I keep getting the same questions, and that's what I got for this week's Wellness Wednesday was, what did you eat prior to having cancer? What did you eat after having cancer? Because cancer scares people, you know, it's the C word and it means death. So again, they can find me across the board, you know, healthyeahlife.info. If they want my free guide for gut health, I have a free guide and it is healthyeahlife.com/gut health. So they can go and get that guide and that can give them some ideas too, because I think, like you said, people try to make it way too complex, way too complex. It doesn't have to be hard. You can start, like you said, small, crowding out things, you know, instead of buying the chips, maybe you buy something else, you know, and you don't even have to go as severe as like, well, I took a chip and now I eat a carrot, you know, you can do less than that, but just being really, really aware of the ingredients in our products, because our, you know, we're seeing more and more disease than ever. You know that, Laura. We're having more and more clients come to us and go, I feel like crap. Why? And sadly, and I know you get this too, the first thing is, I need to lose weight. Well, let me tell you, you start eating like your body wants you to eat. You don't have to worry about calories. We don't have to worry about any of those things because the weight will come off. And in turn, you'll feel better. You'll look better. Your brain will feel better. Your body will feel better. All of it. All of it.
Absolutely.
So as I say, health, yeah. Health, yeah. Let's live a health, yeah life, guys.
I dig that. Thank you so much. And absolutely join her group, Health Yeah Lifer, because that is a fantastic live she just did about the foods that you ate before and after cancer. Because we should be scared of the C word. It does mean death. And at the end of the day, we get so consumed in life and all the stories we tell ourselves and, you know, trying to protect our sense of self and our identity. But none of that matters if our vessel, if we aren't there to be and guide us along. But it doesn't have to be hard. You know, both Karin and I are here to support you. You can DM us. I'm sure if you DM Karin, she is happy to send you that link right over to the free ebook to like nurture your gut. And I am as well, obviously, always trying to support you guys. But our ending message is, if you can do one thing a day, a week to make yourself a little healthier and make yourself feel good, slowly and steadily, you will find yourself in a really good spot. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Be good to yourself.
Be good. What was it? Choose foods that are friendly to you. Have you heard that one? I like that. It's like, instead of choosing foods that taste good, choose the foods that are friendly to you and your body. So
Yes.
thank you, Karin, so much for joining me. It was short and sweet, but I hope everyone got some good information, and definitely go over and join Karin's group, Health Yeah Lifer. Listen to her podcast, Health Yeah Life, everywhere. And I'm sure we will chat soon.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate
Bye,
you.
Karin.
Thanks.